because you'll see me sharing it, and just it'll be shared in the event page that we made as well. And I will be sharing it in a couple other groups. Can you guys hear the baby loud?
Just a little.
Just a little. Okay.
Okay, so we are live. We already got a viewer hopping on. We just hopped on. So people will be coming on. Yeah, we already got a bunch of people coming on. So hello everybody, and we're sorry that we are a little late, but sometimes families are late and sometimes things happen. I'm gonna give everybody a minute just to get on and go ahead and share this for me, guys. Share this to any pages and any groups you guys may be a part of, and invite some friends into this. We are doing episode 22. We've came a long way already, doing a lot of people's stories and having their families here. So this is episode 22 of the Voice of Strength series. I will introduce the family in just a moment. After we give you guys a moment, I'm going to share it as well. Okay, guys, so we are doing episode 22 of Voices of Strength. And for those who are not familiar with the show yet, we started this in August of 2020, and we are highlighting different victims of police killings across the United States. So every week we have met with a family who has been directly impacted by a police killing. People hear about this, but they're not completely aware of what happens, like the truth behind it and the true stories behind the homicide, the victims, police homicide victims. And that's what we're talking about. So my name is Marissa Barrera, and my brother was killed by police in 2017. His name is Michael Barrera. He's killed by Woodland police, and he was murdered. And I started the series because a lot of these killings that happen, people don't hear about them. We have over 1,200 people being killed by police, and that's setting it low. Like, there are a lot of avenues and are not being looked at when we're looking at numbers killed by law enforcement or the government, even in general. So there's 1,200 at least people being killed by police, and mainstream media is only showing us a handful of victims every year. And I've been here for 4 years now, and I've seen this happen each year. And some people, with the George Floyd stuff that is just happening, some people are screaming victory and justice, and this is change. But there are a lot of impacted families like us here, and like people watching, that we know differently because we've been doing this for longer and we actually been living it. So we are here to tell the true stories of those killed by police, and we welcome their families into this space to come in and give them a platform and a chance to share their experiences and the truth about their loved ones and what happened, because the narratives that the police and officials release are never true. They're never accurate. There's always some kind of twist and some kind of lies, and I've seen it happen time after time. So that's us. And I am thanking this family, and I want to uplift them. Thank you guys for being here, and all the people who will share this and support this family. It's not easy for families inviting you guys on to speak. So thank you guys for being here and allowing us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so go ahead and introduce yourself. Introduce your loved one first. Let us know where you guys are from, and then just everybody can introduce themselves.
Hey, this is the Burrise family. Antwaune Burrise was murdered by Stockton PD, July 15, 2020. I am Stephanie Haddon. I am his mother.
I'm Tamaya Burrise. I'm Antwaune's sister, his younger sister.
I'm Elisa Mulvihill. I was Antwaune's wife.
I'm Athena Burrise. I was Antwaune's second daughter.
Thank you. How old are you, daughter, Athena?
18.
18. Okay. So, gosh. So you were there when it happened?
Yes.
Okay. I'm so sorry, guys. So we just want to welcome you into this space. I want you guys to know too that the people that are watching the shows, you guys will get, it's supportive. It's a supportive place. It's an uplifting place. It consists of a lot of impacted families who come across the show. I've been meeting new impacted families. I mean, even before the show, I was always meeting new ones, but with this, I'm meeting new ones. And some of them have never spoken about their loved ones. Some of them have just been alone, isolated through this, and it's been many years. So reaching out to those kind of families too when we're doing this. We start these off with one of the most important things to me with bringing this show about was sharing the truth, and even just being a voice for my brother, is sharing the truth about him and not the narrative that the police and the officials set the tone for, because that's what most of the community, like, it stuck with them. So it was important for me to be like, hey, that's not who my brother was, and
Right.
let's share our truth. We shouldn't have to do this. But I want to, yeah, so there's other families, there's supporters, and then we're reaching new people that aren't even aware that this kind of stuff happens. And that's one of the goals of this. But let's go ahead and share about Antwaune. I'm going to share some pictures as we start speaking. And I just want you guys to share, and you guys are the closest things to him, the 4 women in his life. So just go ahead and Mike, funny stories, anything that kind of shares his personality that you guys want to share with the audience.
Just reflecting back on Antwaune and reflecting back on that narrative, that brings anger. But I can clarify that the things that they said about Antwaune were absolutely positively not true. Antwaune was a loving father. He had multiple children. He was just a wonderful, loving son. He was always big in size and stature. So getting his hugs and his kisses was just something that he greeted me as his mother with every time. If he came 5 times a day, I got 5 kisses a day and 5 hugs. The little ones in the family would hear him pull up, know his music, and they would just get elated, screaming, Anu's here, Anu's here. The narrative that was presented about Antwaune Burrise is a total lie. And this is just from my perspective. Those children that you see are the ones that love him, and children don't love monsters.
Right.
And that's from my perspective. And now you can hear from the rest of the family.
Those were my kids actually on the photos that were just shown. My kids adored my brother. As a matter of fact, my oldest didn't even understand. My oldest is on his lap in that photo. My oldest didn't even realize that wasn't his dad until he was like 6 years old. And that was because him and this one right here got in an argument. And she told him, that's not even your dad. He's right there in that picture, the graduation picture. Athena and my son grew up like brothers and sisters rather than cousins. And my brother always treated my son like he was one of them. He just blended in with the bunch. He had 4 kids already, and my son was the 5th. And my son adored my brother. I mean, they were so close. All my kids did. It's a huge void now for me and my kids. My kids still ask for him every day. Even my that's my little one, and both of my sons, as a matter of fact, right there in the photo with my brother.
So we'll be able to see these pictures again, just so you know.
Yeah. I can say for me, I miss him tremendously. It's still difficult to even talk about him, and just accepting that he's never coming back is hard. When you have siblings that you grew up with your whole life, and they're gone. And in my case, both of my brothers are now deceased. It breaks my heart because they both didn't get to even live life, or they were young, and it was three of us, and now there's just me. And I feel a huge void not having my brother. Like my mom said, his kisses and his hugs, there was none like his. He was like a big old teddy bear. He loved me. I was his only younger sister. So, I mean, my whole life was just me and my brothers. I mean, whether it was good or bad, because he used to embarrass me when we were younger because he didn't like boys. He didn't like parties. He didn't like any of that. Outfits. I mean, you name it, he just was not going for it. But I know now that my brother was only trying to protect me from all the bad things that could have been out there in this world that could have came and brought harm into my life. I thought he was being controlling, but he cared. And I'm grateful for that, because a lot of the things that he instilled in me, I live by them to this day.
That's right.
So I miss him. There's not one day that goes by that I don't think about him. I miss him.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I can relate to that so much.
I know you can.
Yeah, and you know what? You put it into words that I know a lot of siblings will relate to. And, that people don't realize that there are so many people that are impacted. So I'm happy to see you four women, just all different, hitting all the different women that could be in most men's life. So
Right.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Haven't really spoke publicly because it's still really hard to. One of the first pictures that you see is my high school graduation. When I met Antwaune, he was in a wheelchair. He had been shot previously. And he was right there, he's in a wheelchair. That was the beginning of 19 years. I'm sorry. I was pregnant with Athena in that picture. I don't think people stay with monsters for 19 years. They don't build families. Antwaune always wanted to see everybody happy. He was a people pleaser. He wanted all his kids to have everything, whether it was materialistic stuff money could buy, but also time, love. He hugged and kissed his sons. Like, not a lot of men are affectionate with their boys, but he was. His grandsons loved him. I don't think I've ever met anybody that didn't love Antwaune. Like, he just would walk in a room and all the attention was on him. So for them to portray him to be this monster, a monster that goes to zoos and birthday parties and fireworks and carves pumpkins and
Paints fingernails with
he paints fingernails with the younger generation, but and this one was a baby. Fingernail polish wasn't allowed. All the kids loved him. All of them.
If the ice cream truck came and he was there, they knew that he was buying ice cream for the whole neighborhood.
He was that guy. There's always a guy like that. And
That's
Yeah.
him. That's
that
him.
And they knew who to call. I know my kids, where's Anu? Anu, the ice cream truck is here. And he was spending $50 and $60 at the ice cream truck buying everybody ice creams. That's what I miss.
Nothing
miss
got
that.
past him. If you did your hair, if you did your eyelashes, if something was different, he was the one that noticed.
He didn't like me.
He wasn't the kind of man where you come in and something's different and you're like, hello, do you notice
Yeah.
anything? He was like, what's on your eyes? You went and got your nails done? Your hair is shorter. Like, he was very observant. He paid attention to the ones that he loved.
Especially his female us and his other daughters. He was so protective of us. Like, I can't even put into words. I never, now that we don't have him, it's
We're-
like I don't
we're-
even know how to feel. Like, I've been so used to my brother just being my
I would-
protector my
I
whole
would
life.
say that was my fondest memory with my dad.
The graduation
Mhm.
pictures,
Just
yeah.
getting ready, him helping me prepare, put my cap and gown on. I never thought that he would be able to see me get there because of him being incarcerated, and he finally got out of being incarcerated. And the day came, and a few months later, he died.
That photo is actually a remake. It's like a
From my
rerun
kindergarten.
of her kindergarten picture. He was holding her like that. So we had him do it again so it could be her kindergarten and her high school graduation.
Yeah, I would say my dad treated me like one of the boys. Our bond was different than most dad and daughter. We would just ride around and listen to music and go on trips and just do things that probably boys and their dads would do, but I enjoyed doing that with my dad, just spending time with him and being around him.
thank you. Thank you, ladies, for sharing all these memories, because this shit matters and people don't want to see it. People don't want to see the victims as like people. And it's not us. Like, I don't know, at this point, you would think like the general public would be catching on, but we're still not there. And I think it's important to share these kind of memories too, besides the ugly parts. That's why we start with it, just so that the audience and just they can see these people as humans. And the pictures help too. Like, you can just see you guys are just like a family. That's your family. And
That's
we all
absolutely were.
I feel as everyone has always been intimidated by my dad because of his weight and size. Because me personally, I'm a tall girl and people are intimidated by me just because of my height, but I'm really nice.
Even in the pictures, you'll notice most of the time Antwaune is leaning up against something. He recovered from being partially paralyzed, but he still had some inabilities. Like, he couldn't bend his knees like us. So coming down the stairs, he'd hold on to something and swing his legs or drop his feet down, or
He couldn't
rest his back up against a wall or a ledge or something, so that he was able to stabilize himself, because he wanted to hold his kids. He wanted to do those things and not worry about tripping and falling with them. You know, he still struggled with his own health issues. He couldn't run.
Yeah.
He couldn't run from the police if he wanted to run from them.
I wanted to elaborate on the fact that it's unfortunate, very, very unfortunate, to say at the least, that my brother's life was taken the way that it was, because I always felt like he was robbed already. When he got shot 19 years ago, no one was ever arrested. There was never any justice for him. And to witness the struggle firsthand, the colostomy bag that he had. He had a Foley catheter. He was in a just seeing him in a wheelchair, and he was so young. He was only 20 years old when that happened to him. So I watched him struggle through that. And thank God he was able to walk again one day and get his colostomy reversed and everything. But just watching him suffer like that and knowing that he didn't deserve that, he didn't do anything to deserve even what happened to him 19 years ago. And for him to survive that, but then die at the hands of the police is like, wow, like a huge slap in the face. Like, I feel like he was robbed of his life.
More than once.
More than once.
And it's funny, we're talking
In front
about
of
the
your family.
2001 because for the last 19 years, I've been calling and asking them, what are you doing about his shooting, blah, blah, blah. For 20 years, they told me, well, the case is still open. We have different detectives working on it. And so finally today, I got a call after 20 years that they said that they are going to close my son's case. After 20 years of me calling them and asking them, what are you going to do about those people shooting my son? And they just prolonged it. And just today, ironically, I got a call and it's his word against theirs. That's what they told me. That was a word from Sergeant Harris, who is also the Union chief.
Is it in the same area?
No, he was actually, it was Stockton.
Yes.
The incident happened on the east side, but it's just pretty ironic that the people, I still have to look at them, knowing what they did to my son. And then just to get the call today that they're now finally going to release his belongings, his blood-soaked clothes and all that, just today.
So is it the Stockton PD or what agency
No,
exactly?
Stockton PD. Someone shot my son. I know exactly who shot him. For 20 years, they did nothing.
Okay, so I just want to reiterate this just for anybody who's watching that might not have caught that. So the family they're telling us that, and I haven't even once looked at the comments, guys. So for anybody watching, I'm sorry. We are, we'll get back to you guys. But so they're saying that almost 20 years ago, he was a victim to gun violence, right?
Right.
So,
yes.
Killed before. And that was a case that was never solved. And then today, and you know what's ironic too, because I tagged them earlier on Instagram. So I tagged the police on these kind of videos. I tagged them on everything I do for Voices of Strength when I post it. And it's something that I've done since my brother was killed. Because we were going to protest and we're going to show up on the street. Obviously, the police are going to be there anyway. So, hey, guys, like, hi, I know you're going to be there. You're already watching. So I tagged them. So I wonder if that has something to do with it. They know you guys are like speaking and actually, they're not there. They're not slick. And if they're watching.
There's been a lot of ironic things that have happened since this happened.
So, and we're okay with it all. Do what you do. Because obviously there is no control over the police department and their behaviors and their tapping of phones and all that. So we just
the driving by the house.
Yeah. So we just leave it alone. We live in fear every day. I need that to be known. We've been threatened. And without Antwaune, who is the only person that I would ever really trust with my life, he's gone. So now I gotta blanket my family. I will blanket my family.
I'm like, this really pisses me off. I get every time I meet a new family, all families experience similar things, but to hear from you women, you guys are women, mom, sister, wife, daughter, and to hear that you guys are having to deal with that shit after they already murdered the man in the household, the family took the man from And I repeat these things because people, not that I'm surprised, not that I'm not aware that this goes on, but for people to really understand that all of our families are going through this individually from these different people. Like, how many criminals are out there like doing this to our families and getting paid from us
Right.
Yes.
to harass women?
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
No, it is.
But thank you for sharing, and just, you know, it's important for us to let this stuff be known. We already know what they're capable of, and whether they're going to do something further to us for speaking out, I don't know. But that we like with these shows, that's one thing that I wanted to document is the family's life testimonies that we're expressing what exactly we're experiencing. And it's not a coincidence that our stories are very similar and that we experience all that harassment and stuff after. So, you know what I wanted to get to. So for anybody who isn't familiar with your son's case, we shared about your son, and while you ladies are speaking, you guys are having, I hate that you have to do this, and I've had to do it myself. So I recognize that you're having to defend your loved one right away off the bat. Like, well, he was what they said. And it sucks that we have to do that because of what they've already put out there. So if you ladies will just, whoever wants to hit this one, if you can share what the first narratives they were releasing, and then just, if someone else wants to answer, like what you ladies now know and to be true.
I think we're all boiling.
We're all boiling.
We'll start with you now.
Okay, first of all, Chief Jones got on live and said that Antwaune was
One of a kind.
one of a kind,
Unprecedented.
unprecedented, as if no one in Stockton had ever done anything like
Heard of such
he
a
done
monster.
He was wanted
before.
for a homicide. He was
And
connected to
they
the
also stated that he was wanted for a homicide. They also said he tried to escape. They also said he was a fugitive.
And then he
Now-
tried to run over.
Okay, and we're gonna get to that. Now, first of all, he was at home. So he wasn't a fugitive. He had had prior contact with all his federal probation and his state probation. So they all were in contact with him. So he wasn't a fugitive.
He
and
had a
he's
phone call with his probation that morning.
officer. So
Wow.
in respect to escape, Antwaune, they lived right by the exit gate. So if he wanted to escape, he would have went to the gate, because you could literally walk to the exit gate from their apartment.
Hey,
Just move, yeah,
I think
moving.
I'm disconnected from from Facebook. I don't know how. So let's just let me just reconnect it, because
Go
I'm sure
ahead.
I didn't even see how many people were watching or any of the comments, but I'm gonna get us back in here. And
That's the police.
you know what? And there's some, as I go deeper into these stories, I'm like, hey guys, there's real life killers watching us here. And okay, we're live on, it says we're live on Facebook. So let me see.
Okay. So just moving forward with his story, after the police chief said he was unprecedented and all that, what a horrible man he was, wanted for a homicide. They had a warrant. Okay, well, Antwaune got up, went to go move his car, unaware of any officers anywhere around him. He left his house at 12:04, walked in front of every police, left his bathwater running, walked in front of 5 agencies, were on the scene. He didn't notice him. I guess he didn't need to notice him, because he wasn't tripping. Antwaune walked out his front door down 11 stalls and got in his car to move his car. He went to the left, not the right. The right would be out the front gate.
No, the left would be.
The left would be out the front gate. He went to the right. Mind you, it's 12:04. It takes him, because of his disability, it takes him a minute to get to his car. He's fully surrounded and he doesn't even know it. But we hear them describing him in full. even describing down to the point where Antwaune is sitting in his car, you know? So Antwaune starts his car. He goes around the back of the building. He pulls in. As we mentioned, he was a partial paraplegic. So he pulls in the stall. It's a familiar stall. It's by his mother-in-law's house, and there's a little path that he can walk through to get back. So we know the familiar stall, but when he pulls in, he has to pull out to go further to the right so that he can expand that door to lift his legs out.
And not hit the curb.
And not hit the curb or hit the next car. So, and that's exactly what he did. He pulled in the stall, he put it in reverse, slowly backing out, and they opened fire on my son, shooting and killing him with his hands up. They shot him in his head, and they shot him in his back, and they shot him in his arms. He received bullets here and here. Antwaune is 6'10"? Okay. The only way you can get a bullet in his arms right here and here is if his arms are up. But we hear them all on the video. But they're saying, keep your hands up, not put your hands up. So that lets me know that my son, at one time when he pulled out, he saw. Now, this is where Chief Jones flat out lied. He said that the reason why they used excessive force on Antwaune Burrise is because he tried to run over Officer John Griffin. I have 7 body cams, and me and my family have painfully watched those body cams. If you look to Antwaune's left, Officer John Griffin is 2 cars down, and he's hiding behind a pole with a gun pointed at Antwaune. Never once did he cross Antwaune's path. So I asked him, why is my son dead? They said, because he rammed our police cars. I have 7 videos that show Blake Epperson rammed Antwaune's car 3 times, so much that it pushed his brand new car.
Right.
But it wasn't good enough for them to shoot that man the way they did. And that was at 12:07. He left his house at 12:04. They let Antwaune sit in that car with that bullet pierced his lung and the back of his head. Antwaune died. 9 minutes he stayed in that car before they even approached, but that wasn't good enough. They beat on my son to try to extract him from the car because he's so large. They couldn't even get him out the car. So they throw him and let his top portion hang out. And he's just bleeding, but I know he's dead. I'm looking at my son. There's no movement. They slammed him down so hard on the ground. When I went to go see my boy's body, I touched him in his forehead, and this was crushed. And they dragged him across a cement pavement like a dog.
But put handcuffs on him.
And then put handcuffs on a dead man's body. But you don't want to know the in-between, what they did to his daughter and his son. They called her his girlfriend. They handcuffed my 17-year-old at the time, Lincoln High School graduate, took her phone, told her to shut up, told her to calm down. She wants to know where her father is. They put her in the police car. Then they go to the house and they pull guns, military rifles on my 9-year-old grandson at his head and Antwaune's mother-in-law. They are frightened. My grandson and my granddaughter to this day, because there is no SB 299, we cannot get the appropriate services for them. They are devastated, traumatized, and there's nothing we can do about that. But it's just a sad affair when you watch an officer get elated as Griffin and Wells did. They're giving each other dap. Are you all right? The sergeant even said, are you all right? Calm down. Do you need to go sit down? He's no.
I feel outstanding. I'm
outstanding.
Yeah.
This and he's elated that they were amped.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe the treatment of a corpse.
And then he kept repeating, David Wells kept repeating, I got a headshot.
I got that.
He was so excited.
Antwaune was already shot in the head, but he was still hollering, I got a headshot. I got a headshot. Why are you trying to kill this man? Because guess what? There is no homicide.
There was never a homicide.
There was
warrant.
never a homicide
this day.
warrant for my son. There was never. He never had a gun in his hand or in sight. I don't care what you say. But Antwaune Burrise never had a gun in his hand and never intended to put one in his hand. He was just trying to back out his car. They say he accelerated. He wasn't even going 1 mile an hour.
No, they were there because they never even announced. They never even announced themselves.
No, they didn't announce.
They were in undercover cars.
Right.
All those agencies that were there, they never even said, "Hey, police, stop." It wasn't until right before they took his life, they let off a half a siren. Literally, that was the extent
of the siren.
And then bam, 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 he was gone.
Let's back a little bit and let's name those 5 agencies that were there. So some of them were not, they were undercovers and some were dressed as cops. Can you guys name the 5 agencies? That way the audience, and that way it's documented that you guys are sharing this.
You had Stockton PD, you had the Sheriff's Department,
Agnet.
You had Agnet, you had the U.S. Marshals, and you had the community response team, the critical.
Wow.
It was Stockton PD. They had
with the truck.
So they had marked uniform Stockton PD officers. They had Stockton PD SWAT.
They had SWAT
They
team.
had Sheriff's Department Agnet team. They had U.S. Marshals, and then they had undercover plainclothes unmarked vehicles.
And they had a dog.
So can I ask you ladies something? You guys know Antwaune the best. So what would have happened if they would have knocked on the door and not just knocked on your guys' door?
He would have opened
We
the
would
door.
have opened the door. That's all they
had
had to do.
That's all they would have had to do.
Antwaune was in compliance with all of his probation.
Yes.
A week before they killed him, San Joaquin County probation came to the house. They were transferring his probation from Sacramento County to San Joaquin County.
Yes.
They came to check the house to confirm who lived there. They said that they had already been in communication with Antwaune. They just needed to verify the address and make sure that the address was one that corresponded with where he was staying. Antwaune also had court on July 14th, federal court, like a follow-up court date. And on the Monday before they killed him, he reached out and confirmed his court date with his federal probation officer, and she informed him that it had been canceled due to COVID. Somebody that's running from the police, one, is not going to be in compliance with 2 different probation agencies. Sacramento County, he had to check in 3 times a week.
Yes.
And federal probation. He wouldn't have called to confirm a court date if he was a fugitive on the run. And if they really wanted to apprehend him alive, they could have lied to him and told him he had court and apprehended him on the court steps.
Because it ain't like they don't lie.
You know, he would have had to go to court in Sacramento at the federal courthouse. Anybody that's familiar with the federal courthouse, there's no street parking. You have to walk up 20 steps to get to the door. There would have been nowhere for him to run if they wanted to apprehend him alive.
But they
didn't want to.
They didn't want Antwaune alive.
No, he had talked to his probation officer the morning
of the shooting
before he went to move the car.
Yeah.
And he was awaiting for her to come to the house.
Like he always does.
Know?
He has no missed court dates. He has no running time. He has no failure to appears. He has no strikes. He has no violent crimes. Now, he has no assaults on a person. He has nothing that justifies the horrible narrative that was presented of him, terrorizing a community. One man.
And they made it seem like the times that he had been to prison, it was because of all these violent things. But that's what I wanted to elaborate on was when my brother did serve time in prison, it was for them pulling him over, the police pulling him over and finding a gun in the car. But let's talk about why he carried a gun. He carried a gun because he was shot 19 years ago. There was never any justice, and he wanted to live for his children. I'm not saying that it was right, but I can say if that was me and I had been shot, because he was shot 15 times. If I had been shot 15 times, left a partial paraplegic, in a wheelchair, experienced all these horrible things and never got justice, I would have been carrying a gun too. But then the way that the police said that he had the guns, how they broadcasted it all on TV and in the news and everything, they moved the guns to the seat to
But
take the
that's even
pictures.
if they found those guns, because all we saw was them shut the door. No one never hollered a
Right.
gun. We don't know
Well,
if,
even on the body cams,
yes, there's no
when they're pulling
guns.
him out the car, there was never any guns
None.
anywhere.
But
And
they're
then
saying,
they presented these guns
right.
all over TV. And even if
Right.
you Google my brother right now here today, that's what's going to show
That's
up.
what
is
shows.
the pictures of the gun.
But they literally shut the door after they dragged his body out. Never heard anything about any guns
Right.
at all through this whole event.
They didn't holler, he has a gun, there's the gun, we see a gun. Even
Nothing.
after they shot him and pulled him out of the car, they
They
had
never mentioned
3
the
out of
gun.
the 4 car doors open, and never one time did you say hear them say there's a gun in the car.
Nothing.
Be careful, there's a gun. They're reaching into the car, they're pulling him out. If they thought he had a gun, they wouldn't have been jerking his body around the way that they were, because they would have been worried about, a gun going off and shooting one of them. Even when they presented the video to the public about the car screeching, if you watch the body cams thoroughly, you'll see that when the car revved up, Antwaune was already dead. His legs were hitting the gas pedal when they were trying to get him out, and you could hear the officers shouting to the other officers on the scene, it's not him,
yeah.
it's not him. But when the chief and the spokesperson presented it to the community, they used that clipping to justify that his car was revving up, reversing in the
To run
direction of
over
an
brick.
officer.
Yeah.
But those timelines are like 15 minutes apart.
And if you look at his car, the car he was killed in, you will see, and not that, because we know what happened, we know the truth, but just to put it out there, looking at the car, if my brother had rammed someone, his car would have either had damage to the front end or the back end. His car is damaged in the middle, which indicates that somebody rammed him and not the other way around. Because how does he ram someone with the middle of his car on the side? It's impossible. But that's what they put out there and had everyone believing, and people took it and ran with it. And like you said earlier, early on, we were defending him, and we were all alone, with the exception of, we did have some support, but I can say that there was a lot of people who turned their backs on us because of what was put out there about my brother.
Now, in respect to damages, his children are not healthy.
Yeah.
His wife lost her job and her husband all in one walk.
And
she
her
had
house.
7 days to move. The pavilions terminated her employment. So now we all housed together, and we make it happen because they deny us any services. And we begged for recovery trauma services, because my granddaughter's sitting right here, as I'll tell anybody. She is UCLA bound, but because of the damages of this event, and I'm gonna say it because it's the truth, she could care less if she live or die. And that's not her. And I'm angry about that, because when you killed Antwaune Burrise, you damn near killed his family, and you damaged their mental state, especially his children. I don't know how I'm going to get her back. And I beg for accountability, and for SB 299 to come about so that I can save her. I don't care about me, but I care about her, because that is one of the brilliant ones. His daughters are college bound from his teaching, and it didn't matter where he taught them, where he was. Him, his two daughters, because of their relationship, the eldest daughter went to college, and this one was more than college bound. And I'm sorry if I embarrassed her, but I know what we living with. And to be damaged by people that we supposed to respect, they supposed to protect, and then they lie to us. And then you create a monster that damaged my daughter on her job. She's works for the state, a medications nurse. You think she can make a mistake? And this girl right here been working since I met her. She was a little girl, forced to live on a fixed income when we all in this house together. And it's a lot of us. This is not even a portion of who lives in her house. So when you shot Antwaune Burrise, you shot us all. You destroyed us all. And you sit behind those desks and you hold on to that lie instead of coming forward and saying the honest to God truth about the event that took place. But you know what I learned, Marissa? Antwaune's story ain't no different, because everyone I listen to, they try to make him look like a monster, like they're a piece of SH, you know, and they make him look bad to try to justify their actions. Well, I'm going to tell you this. Antwaune Burrise surrendered when he acknowledged Griffin. And David Wells shot him in the back of his head. And that's what happened on July 15, 2020.
They yelled out rubber bullets.
Oh, we don't want to mention that.
Yeah,
The command was rubber bullets. And David Wells and Griffin and Epperson used lethal bullets. The command, I have the body cams, and I watched them over and over and over. The command was beanbag. And when he said it the second time, Wells took off. And that's when he hollered at Griffin and said, back up. Because Wells would have shot Griffin. Griffin was trying to run up to the car. That's why Wells shouted out the way he did, because his gunfire would have shot Griffin. I'm watching this.
And Griffin conveniently didn't have his
Body cam on.
Of course.
He's the officer that claims that he felt threatened, that his life was in danger, that he was the one that, according to PD, initiated the first shots, and his body cam was not turned on until after the shooting.
Yes.
It always works in their favor. We know this.
You can hear them on the body cams when they're all trying to surround him before he even realizes that they're there. You can hear them on the dispatch saying, "Where is he? We can't see him. We don't know where he is."
Yeah.
And we watched all 7 videos and time clocked them down to the seconds to see what corresponded with other videos. And they didn't even have him in sight for 30 seconds before they opened fire.
Yes.
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Within 30 seconds of them having him in view, there were already shots fired.
They didn't give him a chance.
Mm-mm.
They never even gave him a chance. I didn't even hear the shots fired. And that's what gets to me. Like,
And then after they shoot him, David Wells goes up to a 3rd floor apartment and asks a resident of the complex, can he wash his hands? He wants to wash Antwaune's blood off in somebody else's kitchen sink.
What the hell?
And he's in there saying, the
horrible.
resident is saying, what's going on? He said, oh, he killed a bunch of people. He's a really bad guy. Don't worry about it. I'll come back after everything is done and let you know everything's okay.
Wow.
I mean,
Done it all on
during
video.
a pandemic,
Right.
you're washing off, you're not wearing a mask or booties, and you have somebody's blood on you, and you go up 3 flights of stairs for that. I'm sure you had some kind of hand sanitizing wipes or a napkin in your police car.
he
That's
clearly
Yeah, I've
got a
never
rush.
seen like
Yeah,
that.
and it's all on his body cam. He's chuckling and laughing and,
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
oh, I'll be right back, man. Don't worry about it. Like, he was a really bad guy.
Yeah.
You know, that comment it reminds me of my brothers. They tried to convince the one witness who like seen it. So he's seen it. They try to tell him, well, that earlier he had a machete and try to tell him all this crazy shit. And it wasn't true. And that, see, these details, and that's why the show is so important. And maybe right now it's not there yet, but I know when people, all of our testimonies together at the end of, I don't know how long, I'm at least doing the show throughout the year, and that's already a lot of families, but all of our stories are the same. And it's
Yes.
how the US government, it's beyond just the police at this point. It's beyond just the individuals that killed our loved ones. Everyone else that helped cover it up, all those police that did that to your children, your grandchildren, to you, to your family, they're all responsible for this shit. And
Yes, they are.
that all those agencies, you guys had 5 agencies,
Yes.
but who investigated them? It doesn't even matter, because you know they're going to clear them. They're their friends.
Anyway,
If he was so dangerous, you should have apprehended him as he left the front door and walked to the car.
Absolutely.
If anybody's familiar with apartment complexes, which I'm sure most people are, there's carports, covered carport spaces where people parked. He had to walk 11 stalls down, which covered one whole building that had 16 units in it, 2 different walkways, and a dumpster enclosure to get to his car. So if he was a fugitive and he was so dangerous and he was wanted, then why didn't you tackle him when you saw him walk outside with a t-shirt and basketball shorts on?
Right.
Why did you let him get in the car and move the car and do all of,
And if
you know, if he's so dangerous, why would you let him get into a car where you can't see behind the doors? You can't see through metal.
but you're observing the way that he walks as well.
right.
And you can tell he has a disability when he walks. You can tell he can't hide it. He
No,
walked extremely slow
Right.
with a limp. He kicked his feet out in front of him because that was the only way to keep his balance.
And then they already, besides that, like they already knew this information because they were
Yeah,
smart.
Yeah.
They
did.
did.
They did.
When Antwaune went to court, if he was in custody and went to court, they handcuffed him in the front.
They
They
did.
never handcuffed him in the back.
Because he had
They
no
always
balance.
brought him in a wheelchair because they didn't want him to have a walker at court. Antwaune wore leg braces to keep his ankles straight. Like they knew all of this. They know this. He had a restricted driver's license because of his disability. He was issued by the DMV a placard so he could park closer. All of this stuff is in their system. They have access to all of this information. They disregarded it because they wanted to, because they came with the
Tend to
intention
kill him.
of taking him out in a body bag.
Yes, and that's what they did. That is
And right.
what
They,
we
they,
feel.
they didn't come to apprehend him.
No, they didn't.
They came amped, ready to go
To
hunting.
kill. Yeah,
They were hunting.
I believe that.
It was like they were hunting. When you saw the reactions in the videos, how the officers were so excited
This-
to do this. Even the sergeant, he was in the car and he had this
They were
huge.
cocking their
they were
weapons.
They were
their guns
cocking
before
their
they pulled
weapons before they even had Antwaune in sight coming around. They were click, click. Griffin, Epperson has the gun on the steering wheel trying to drive with the gun. And I'm watching this and I said, they came with the intent to kill Antwaune Burrise, and our family has discussed it. It sounded like a personal hit. Whatever they betted on, or whatever they were talking about, the job was to kill Antwaune Burrise Sr. It wasn't to apprehend him at all, because there was ample times to do so.
Right.
And that dog would have taken Antwaune down in 29 seconds.
Right.
You had every piece of artillery there. You had all manpower present with a man that stood that tall in full view, and you used none of those. But you trap him in a car and you ambush him from both sides. He got shot from the right from Epperson, he got shot from the left from Griffin, and he got shot from the passenger back from David Wells, all at one time. and you let him walk to his car.
And you let him sit there and bleed for 9 minutes.
Yes, you did. So,
So
He
if
could
I
have lived. He
They-
could have lived.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
part, right? They didn't do that either. And that's common when the police kill people. That is so common. Like, I get so mad about these, just hearing from new families every time. Like, it's a new family, same fucking story.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
And then you have the kids. My 10-year-old son normally would run outside and hop in the car because he just would want to go for a ride, hang out with dad. It's a pandemic. They're out of school. His response was, well, if I would have been in the car, they would have shot me too.
But
Kids
this
walk
one,
outside.
the
She went
reason
looking
she
for
went
him.
looking for her dad, that's how they know their dad.
Because the
The bathwater was running. Tell him.
the bathwater was overflowing, so I walked outside. When I walked outside, I seen, well, I had walked towards my grandma's apartment because she lives on if I would walk right out of my apartment door, I would go to my grandma's house. I was on the phone with my brother at the time, and I'm questioning him on why would they be putting caution tape all around the apartment buildings, because I didn't hear no shots fired or anything. So I walk back to my apartment because they were putting up caution tape, and I see three, I don't know if they're undercovers or what they just had on green with rifles, and they're just yelling at me to get down. First they asked me what apartment I lived in, and I told them, like, this is my house. I live with my parents. They're like, they start yelling, that's the girlfriend, that's the girlfriend. And I'm on the phone with my FaceTime with my brother, very confused because I'm like, just looking like, what? So when they start saying that's the girlfriend, they grab my phone and my keys away from me. And one of a regular officer, she handcuffs me. And then another regular officer tells me if I don't be quiet because I'm calling for my mom because I'm a minor and I'm confused on why I'm being detained. So my mom finally comes to me and she's yelling at them like she's a minor. I don't know what misunderstanding you guys have. And they're like, this is the girlfriend. And my mom's like, that's not the girlfriend of whoever you think it is. That is my daughter.
See, at this time, we don't even know that all of this that's going on in the complex has to do with Antwaune. I managed the complex, so I worked there and we lived there. So when the cops are everywhere,
But by the time
I'm coming outside with my work hat on, like what's going on? I need to find out what's going on. Then I see them with my daughter. So we're all confused because we don't even know
But
what's going on.
as they're detaining me, my dad is already dead because after they detain me, they make me sit in front of my car for how long do we have to sit
It
there?
was a
Like
long
maybe
time.
45 minutes.
I was sitting there for 45 to maybe an hour, and I see an ambulance come and I see a body wrapped in the blanket, but I never think about it. But then I start thinking about it and I just start yelling to my mom, something's wrong. Like something has to be wrong. I couldn't see a face. I just seen a long body wrapped in a wool blanket. So that's when I yell. I see my aunt on the levee and I yell and tell her that something is wrong. And what the police knew that they were wrong because they held us there, but as soon as Detective Castro came and told us the news, he instantly let us leave and go to the hospital. When they sent him to the hospital knowing that he was already dead.
They wouldn't even let me get my niece. I had to climb up on the levee in the back of the apartment complex because I wanted to remove her and her little brother from the situation. Because I'm like, this is too much going on. I don't even know what's going on. I just get a phone call like, Athena's in handcuffs. So me and my mom, it happened to be my day off. We rush over there and they wouldn't let me in the apartment complex. So I go in the back of the complex and I climb up on the levee and I'm looking down. I'm blind, but I have on my contacts so I see my niece because she's tall like my brother. And I'm wondering what's going on. I see all the police and everything. And I asked to get my niece. They won't let me get her or my nephew. So now I really feel like something's wrong. And then all of a sudden, after being up there, I think we were up there for probably like 45 minutes. And then that's when we found out we needed to go to the hospital. We get to the hospital, they take 5 hours.
5 hours.
To even tell us that he's gone. The police tell the medical staff not to speak to us. So we're sitting out there crying, losing our minds, wondering, is my brother dead? Is he alive? Like, what's going on? You know, and 5 hours go by, and then they finally tell us, and they never let us see him. They never let us say goodbye. I'm grateful for, I think it was the night before, I think my brother was at my house when I got off of work, and I was able to have a conversation with him. But I didn't think that that was going to be the last time that I saw him, though, because he used to come to my house like every other day. It's just, it's sad not to hear his music, not to hear his cars, because I know what his cars sound like to never hear it again. And
the cops, they abused their power on so many different levels. What they did to Antwaune and what they did to Athena. They went to the apartment and they were shouting, "Come out," with your hands up. They weren't even, there's 8 apartments in the breezeway that I lived in. They never announced what apartment they even wanted somebody to come out of. So the times that we live in, nobody's just going to walk outside of their front door and say, "Hey," but they kept screaming. So my mom was there with my son. She peeks her head out of the door and she's like, "Are you talking to us?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm talking to you guys." So she opens the door and they're pointing all these military assault rifles at my mom and my son. They force them out of the house. They search my 10-year-old.
he was 9 at the
He was
time.
9.
He was 9 then. They pat him down as if he had a weapon on him. But they didn't pat my mother down, which, you know, she's white, my son is black, so we can see where that's what the reasoning for that is. Because if it's protocol to search somebody, you'd search both of them regardless of age or ethnicity, but you chose to only pat my child down, and then you force them to the front of the complex with guns at their back. And then once we're in an area where we're all together, they take my cell phone, my daughter's cell phone, my mom's cell phone, and they surround all of us. There was 4 of us and there were 5 officers surrounding us, and they told us we couldn't leave.
Yeah, I got pictures.
And we kept asking them, "What's going on?" "Oh, we don't know what's going on. We just responded to a call." "No, that's bullshit. You know why you're here. You need to, well, we're going to need you to come down to the state." "For what?" "I'm not going down to the station. You need to tell me what's going on now." And then after, 45 minutes to an hour passes by and Detective Castro shows up, which we're familiar with because he's had a vendetta against our family for so many years. I see him and I yell out to him, "Castro, what are you doing here?" "Oh, I'll come back and talk to you."
That's good and bad.
So he comes back and he's like, "Oh, well, there was a shooting and Antwaune was transported to the hospital and you guys are free to go." So we literally run through tape. They had the street taped off. The whole complex was taped off. And then they had it, when you exit the complex, they had it taped off like a quarter of a mile to the left and all the way to the street light on the right. It was like something out of a movie. They blew it up so that they could try and justify what they did.
It's dangerous, man. But I think what I really, really want to be known is the mental devastation. Because of what Chief Jones said, we weren't able to get any help through our GoFundMe or anything. And the fact that we have at least 4 children that are devastated behind this that still need it. I need to thank Tori Verber Salazar. She did give me names of people that could help, but unfortunately they didn't specialize in trauma. And the Wendy Reyes, she also gave us a name and we couldn't afford it. So I just needed to include that because I remember in our dire need that those 2 ladies they did say, here, call this person, because they knew the devastation of the children, and they knew that we weren't going to get any assistance
I don't think that they
from
know how deep
anybody
it really
else.
is.
Yeah, they just, from the back, those two ladies, I just have to say that the district attorney and Antwaune's federal agent did give us names, but unfortunately, we weren't successful in the GoFundMe to raise the funds because of what the chief said, a family of killers. Who wants to support a family of killers? So it really,
They said they've never experienced a
Yeah.
family like ours ever. It's unprecedented that they have a family like ours that
resorts to killing.
resorts to killing people.
Yeah,
So now people are looking at all of us.
really, really
You
sideways.
know, Antwaune didn't kill anybody. They didn't even have a homicide warrant.
No.
But the narrative that they gave about him and what they did to him, they also gave their own narrative of our family,
Yeah,
you know.
And it wasn't only us searching for the homicide warrant, the alleged homicide warrant that my brother had.
Yeah.
It was other people who were helping us, other organizations, because people are curious what's going on. Is there or isn't there a warrant? So we're looking, they're looking. Nobody has come up with this alleged warrant. There's no record of it. We all know that warrants
no
are
homicide case filed.
right.
Supposedly there was a Rammy warrant and it's never been presented to us. We've
Mhm.
never seen it. And we were told that it's sealed, so we don't have access.
Judge.
But let's talk about what a Rammy warrant is for people who don't understand what it is. It's just a warrant to pick up someone for questioning and basically pray and hope that they talk about whatever it is that you want to talk to them about. And if they don't, you let them leave. And that's just what it is. They can only hold you a certain amount of time to question you about whatever they want to question you about, but it's not a warrant. And there was no homicide warrant.
Or a
So,
homicide case, so.
or a homicide case, yes.
So they can literally just come and murder us, basically.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
My goodness. So how long did it take? I know you guys are, still fresh, just coming into this, it's still very fresh. You're a newer family. So, I mean, I'm glad I connected with you guys and that you guys are meeting other families, especially because the lack of support, because that's where we end up getting support from, is other families that have been
Mhm.
impacted. So it's like, how do we change that? How do we get these people to, really feel us before it happens to them?
I don't know. I don't know. I just know that connection is an amazing thing. I know that unconditional love and the respect that I've learned dealing with other families is you have no clue what it has done and how it has uplifted our family and help us make it through this. Tragedy created a family.
Right.
And this family that I am now engaged with, my family is engaged with, is huge from here to New York. And Marissa, if I tell you, from standing in a place alone to the love that we have right now, from the directions it's coming from, you can't believe it. But the sad thing of this whole event is that we are related by tragedy. And guess what? Police tragedy.
Right.
And to me, that's a sad day on earth when the people, you pay their paycheck and you call them in dire stress and dire need, help us. And we know today that if you Black, you white, you Hispanic, and you Asian, you're gonna die coming in their contact. It's not, yes, maybe Blacks get it more. I don't know the data, but what I do know is that Black, Hispanic, white, and Asian, they're killing us. And that covers us all. None of us are exempt. And how do I know that? because I got each and every one of their families on speed dial when I'm in need, or when I need to talk, or when I need support. That's who's on my speed dial. And that's sad. That's sad that we all are affected like this. And it's not just a Black thing, not in my surrounding area. And it's wrong. And it's wrong because nobody is being held accountable. They sitting behind them desks and they talking about it. Stop talking about something that happened before and after Antwaune. There's nothing else to talk about. You city leaders, you need to put down those pen and papers and go into action. You're using us as your collateral damage while you're sitting around there and you're negotiating how many of them is we gonna let get killed before we sign this or do this. Right. There is nothing else to talk about. And I'm ashamed of them all because the list is getting bigger. We're talking about it. Well, we're planning. There's nothing to plan. There's nothing to negotiate. There's nothing to talk about. Right. Pick all those before Antwaune and go ahead and pick it up after Antwaune. What else is they gonna talk about? How many kids that's college bound is crazy? Right. Because they can't get their mind focused. You're creating an unsafe environment, and if you continue this without no recovery services, the Black boys are gonna be Black angry men. And you talk about a safer community? How dare you, when you created an unsafe community, when you shot and killed their father, right, and you left them unattended with nowhere to go, get no help. And you talk about a safer community when you are the reason why we're not safe back then, now, or in the future. You created it. You damaged their right to grow up healthy. You took away the stability in my granddaughter's mind, who at 17, city leader says, I don't care about living, ain't nothing for me. They killed my daddy and mean it. And go into crisis, and we up all night. Not gonna happen. And if it's the last breath in me, we are gonna shut this down, Marissa. People like you is the reason why we got this far. And we're gonna shut this down.
Thank you for sharing all of that, Stephanie. And you guys all, I'm glad, and I seen a couple comments saying that too. People are glad that you guys have each other through this, and seeing you guys stand right here speaking together is really powerful. And but thank you for also hitting the points of what is going on with the kids, what they've suffered, and our loved ones. Not all of us witnessed our loved ones being killed or the immediate aftermath of that. And I've heard some horrible stories, but just hearing this, I know I'm not, we're very angry, like that you would be treated like that, Athena, and your brother, all of you guys. So thank you guys for sharing that.
That were there. It's the nieces and nephews. It's the grandchildren. Like our grandsons constantly ask me, where's Pawpaw? We want our Pawpaw. Or they've been through it with us. They'll see the police and the kids are terrified. The police killed Pawpaw, or the police killed Anu. The sight of a cop just like completely sends the kids into a tailspin. Right. It's tragic to be there and see it, but it's affected the entire family. It's affected all of the kids. I mean, your boys don't get to grow up with your brother. That's not fair to them. Right. Our kids have families, they have uncles, that there's no more men.
Yes.
In our family. Like our children, their uncles are both deceased. So what men do they look up to? You know, their grandfather is deceased. So you want, you know, strong male role models in their lives, but then you're killing them.
Yeah, you know what? And that this you hit something that I talk about like amongst my people, close people, just how they are, our men are being taken. And one of those avenues is, you know, the prisons. Then we have them being murdered by police. We have women being murdered by police. We have young people being murdered by police and older people. But, you know, the majority of them are young men and, you know, are men. So they're being taken from us. And that's another reason why we see a lot of women, us women, us moms, daughters, partners, sisters are on the front lines. We're having to be the ones having to, all that you guys have done through that, having to investigate yourself, having to be there facing face to face with these fucking killers after they did that. Like, shouldn't have to do that.
And then it's re-traumatizing every time you see
Yep.
a cop. Athena was in a car accident the day before Thanksgiving. We had to drop everything, and me and Steph go to the scene, and the officer that's on scene of the accident is the same officer that was in my house
Oh my
the
God.
day Antwaune was shot. So
Wow.
of course now I'm trying to deal with my daughter, making sure she's okay. But now my wounds are being reopened because now I'm having to stare at the cop that took place in Antwaune's murder.
Wow.
So, you know, trying to keep your composure and not overreact where you end up in a situation and then you can't be there for your child. They're not doing anything to hold these police accountable, and then the victims and their families are constantly re-traumatized.
Yep.
Watching my brother's kids and watching my kids, but I'm sad already and dealing with my own thoughts and feelings about this situation. But one thing that replays in my head every single day is, damn, what about my brother's kids? Like, I see them, it makes me sad. Some days I just look at them and it just makes me cry. Like, when I go to work in the morning, I see my sister-in-law and her kids sleep on the couch. She lost everything. Like, it makes me so sad to see his wife and his kids. Like, they didn't just lose him, they lost everything. They lost everything. And it kills me. My nephew, he's only 9. He has the rest of his life to go. No dad. For what reason? For no reason. My niece, she's so different. Like, we had to beg her to be here today. She's so different. She used to be so happy, so outgoing. She was just like a free spirit. Like, she's so different now. If you knew her before, like, you would feel what I'm saying. Like, it hurts watching all of his kids suffer. And my kids, you know, asking for him constantly. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Why did this have to happen? There's no reason
why Antwaune
why
should
this
be
had to
dead.
happen.
No reason he should be dead. We tried to look in them videos. We tried over and over, as painful as it was. And I know we're exceeding our time, but there's nothing in there that justified them pulling any lethal weapon on Antwaune Burrise Sr. Nothing.
And that's another thing that I just want to point out is that you ladies had to watch the video. That's not right. But if you want to watch it, would they have been honest? No.
No.
We have to
And
do that.
they only showed us because they had to.
Nobody was backing down.
Because it was a critical incident and they're required to. Because had they not been required to be transparent in this situation, we probably wouldn't know as much as we know.
Right.
Yeah. Like a lot of other families that, you know, there are a lot of families out there have never gotten.
I mean, David Wells, he's killed before. He has a history. Matter of fact, I think one of the other officers that was involved in my brother's shooting also killed in the past. David Wells killed someone in 2016, another Black man. His body camera was conveniently off.
Of course.
How many other people does he have to kill before he's taken off of the police force, arrested, and sentenced, convicted? Because he's a criminal. He's a criminal. He's supposed to be catching the bad guys. He is one of the bad guys.
Oh, it's organized crime in there. It's
Mhm.
organized crime, and I'll give my last meal on that one. It's organized crime in there. There's a culture in there that can't nobody break.
Yeah.
You know, they threaten each other. You know what I'm saying? Yet they sit at the table and hold hands. I see that now. I see that so clear now. And it just behooves me how you can put that Crime Stopper and offer people money for us to help y'all.
Mm.
But when we ask for y'all's help, y'all's won't tell on y'all. So where's the medium at? You want our help to help you in solving crimes, but what about on your side? You're not telling on your partner, but you want us to tell on our side. There's a big gap there. There's no respect there. And bottom line, Stockton PD, from the mayor on down, who stated Stockton is not a dangerous city, you have no love or respect for Stockton. I don't care how you place it, slice it and dice it. When you said that Stockton is not a dangerous city, you just let most of us know that you don't care about our safety.
Right.
You just said, oh, our police can do what they want to do. It's okay for them to kill. Between the outside gun violence and the police gun violence, where are we safe? You have the manager, you got the chief of police, you got all them, and can't nobody fire David Wells?
Right.
Can't nobody take that vicious gun? Nobody has made any effort. And you know what the saddest part was? For what they did to Antwaune, to your brother, and everybody else, they got sent home for 3 days with full pay. And I had to move my daughter-in-law out of her house with grieving children all around me.
And plan a funeral.
And plan a funeral. But you got 3 days with pay. And it was like I committed a crime when I asked. I demanded that they be suspended. I was told, and I won't tell who told me that because I respect the gentleman. He said it'll never happen. I demanded that they be suspended. So you're telling me that you worried about the community, that you care about your community, yet you will not safeguard your community
From this killer cop.
from this killer cop.
And they have multiple killer cops on
And
their
yeah, David
payroll.
Wells isn't the only one.
Antwaune was killed, and just a few months later in the same neighborhood,
Same neighborhood.
literally Trinity Parkway, the same street,
Same street. Shane Sutherland.
literally 2 street lights away, they killed Shane Sutherland.
Yes, they did. So
Same. You could literally, from the AM PM that they killed Shane, you could literally see the Pavilions complex from that parking lot.
Yeah.
That's how close it is.
they did a George Floyd on him, respectfully.
You know what, ladies? I don't even know how it mapped out this way, but Karen will be on in
Next week.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So
We've been in communication with her a lot. She's
Yeah.
like been one of our biggest supporters.
good.
Yeah.
And that's important, you know, the family showing up together, even if our
Absolutely.
family don't show up or other people don't show up, we have impacted families at least to show for us. So I want to ask you guys, you ladies, how can you guys share how people can support, or if you guys have social medias they can follow, and then also share about the upcoming rally that you're planning?
Well, we do have an Justice for Antwaune Burrise page,
Instagram.
and we have it on Instagram.
So Instagram and Facebook are both
Justice
Justice
for
for Antwaune
Justice for
Burrise.
Antwaune, and that'll tell about all our events, our GoFundMe, and anything
Body
else.
cams,
The body
everything is
cams are there.
available.
Everything is available on there. We have an upcoming event
22.
Monday the 10th from 11 to 1:30 in front of the courthouse and the DA's office. It's a rally. We're just really gonna go forward with this accountability. It's the emotionally scarred mothers is what we are. And we're doing this because we know that they're not gonna hold them accountable, and we're demanding that at this time. We have some prominent people coming from all over. One would be Stevante Clark on behalf of Stephon Clark, who was murdered by Sacramento PD. He will be attending, and how gracious, he responded right away and said he would be there, amongst other mothers. Trevor Seaver's mom, Patrick Witter, they couldn't come, but she sent, her support, and the Sutherlands, and it's just a tremendous amount of people and organizations that said that they would come out and support us in this demand for accountability. We're fed up. We are fed up, and us mothers and the victims' families, we're gonna speak on it, and we're not letting up. We're not letting up.
The fight is for all impacted families,
For
not just
all.
ours, not just for Stockton families, not just for one state. It's
No.
for
We called in
statement.
Sacramento, Modesto, we called in Ripon, we called in the
San
Bay Area,
Francisco.
all them cities up there. We called in Vallejo, all them cities surrounding Vallejo, Brentwood. We reached out to every last one of them, because it ain't just about Antwaune.
And then
There's a lot of emotionally scarred mothers and families out there that's barely making it mentally.
absolutely. Sorry. I want to, and then I want the people watching and that myself and Voice of Strength, we support, and we'll be live streaming out there too. So
Wow, thank you.
yeah, so people watching, they can tune in with us even if they're not here to support, and just be there in presence. And Holly was just on too. I know you just mentioned her, and she just left her
Yeah.
comment.
Wow.
And she's like, and that's why it's important for all of us families, like, to always, and something I've always done, to always make it aware of, hey, it's not just one race
No.
problem, all of ours. And I find that the people arguing about it, the only people arguing are the people that are not impacted. Because
Yeah.
we're not fighting about, hey, my brother was Mexican, your son was black. We're not arguing like that.
Mm-mm.
They're all
We're
humans.
human beings.
Them was human beings, and there was brothers and sons. Them was our loved ones. Let's put it like that. They lives matter to us.
Right.
Our blood. And at this point,
Man.
it's beyond police brutality. It's the crimes against humanity. These are human rights that are being violated, our civil rights. And then going back to, even if they said that your son had, even if there was a gun around, like, and he was supposed to, but the US Constitution says that we have the right to bear arms. So what the fuck is it? What is
Right.
What is
Right.
it?
They don't have the right to be the judge, jury, and executioner.
And that's what they were that day.
They
That's
don't
what
have the
they
right
were.
to disregard that he had a physical disability and he had post-traumatic stress disorder. Both were documented. They didn't have the right to disregard that.
His life may not have mattered to them, but it matters to us.
Absolutely. Ladies, I think this is very powerful. And I know that as I do more shows, I meet families that, like the daughter here, like, thank you for coming and thank you for speaking, because I've talked to moms. Like, I talked to a mom last week who, it's been many years since her son was killed, but she's never even spoken to like a soul about it. So I know the show. Yeah, and that's not the first mom that I've spoken to like that, that's told me, hey, you're the only person that's ever contacted me or talked about it, on a private conversation. So just doing this kind of stuff. That's why it's so important that we put her there. And there are a lot of people like that can't talk. I've came across moms or siblings, and I just think the victims that have at least one family member that speaks for them, I think it's messed up to say, but I feel like they're lucky that they have someone speaking up, because imagine how many out here don't have anybody, or that their family believe the narrative, or they don't have family to fight for them. So that's important for us to, it's fucked up that we have to be here. I never thought I'd have to be here talking about this stuff. And my brother would be damned if I was getting treated the way I've been getting treated by people,
Okay,
you
they are
know.
knowing it was our protectors. You're not gonna disrespect family. But
Yep.
we take them hits. Marissa, we gonna take them hits.
And I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and ladies, I started, I just got, my baby's 8 weeks old now, and I just getting back. I kind of took a little break, but I did start a group for Voices of Strength. It's a group for the family. So I believe mom and wife are in it right now. If the other ladies would like to join, it's just impacted families, and it's not always going to be like, hey, about murders. That's not what the group is totally about, of like sharing stuff like that. And all, we see that already. It's more about us to connect, how we are right now, connecting like this and relate and then organize together. And so yeah, I'll bring the ladies in if you guys would like to join. And if
Cool.
not,
This one doesn't have social media. She runs off mine.
okay, that's
One
my
day.
We'll have to teach Athena how to use Facebook. The younger generation is.
Before we close out, can I thank the OWL movement, to Shantae McCoy for allowing us to use her space so that we can be in your presence today. And I just want to say thank you to her, and thank you for having us, Marissa.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
Marissa.
much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Well, you guys have my phone number, and we're planning to see you guys in a few, just around the corner.
Yeah,
So,
next week.
yeah.
Thank you.
And then for you guys, for ladies, I don't ever advise anybody to hop on the comments after the show, because it is a lot. But just, when you guys have some free time, just see that the families are leaving you guys comments, or just showing you guys support. And then just for people watching, we are having an episode this Saturday. I usually do Wednesdays, but I have a family coming on with me this Saturday. So that's going to be the family of Augustine Morales. And
Okay. That's we're gonna go to his birthday.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
going to his birthday.
yeah. Okay, so you guys are coming to Sacramento for that?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, awesome. Then we'll be seeing you guys a couple times, and this is good, and just it'll be good for the families to get together, and just it's always good to vibe off of each other and not like just online. We get to be in family now because
Sure.
we're
That's right.
Support.
all
Thank
right.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
Take care.
You
All
too.
righty.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye, everybody. Thank you guys for watching.
Bye.
You're welcome.